Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. During question period today, the NDP raised the name of the late Catholic priest Johannes Revoir. He was charged in 1998 with sexually abusing 4 children in Nunavut. But the case never went to trial. The children of one of his alleged victims wants the RCMP to release their father's records. NDP MP Lori Idlut asked when the government would release those records.
Johannes Revoir sexually abused Inuit children in Nunavut for years. Canada refused to charge him for 30 years and he died protected. Daughter of the late Marius Tungilik has asked the RCMP for his files, but they refuse to release it. This government must honor families, especially to those who suffered during residential schools. Will the Minister of Public Safety provide the documents, or will they help to keep the files hidden from this family?
Here, here. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member for her question and raising these important issues with us in this place. Ensuring that justice is done for victims and their families is crucially important. It's something I know the minister takes incredibly seriously, and we will continue to work on this specific case with her. When it comes to dealing with systemic racism in policing, this is a crucial issue that we are focused on addressing. It is something we have made progress on, but by no means is it complete. There is much more work to do, and we are committed to doing it.
The House of Commons held an emergency debate late into the evening on Monday night. The federal NDP requested it due to the recent deaths of 6 First Nations people at the hands of police forces across Canada. Winnipeg NDP MP Leah Gazan noted that between 2017 and 2020, an Indigenous person was 10 times more likely to be shot and killed by police than a Caucasian person. Nunavut NDP MP Lori Idlut called on the government to implement all of the calls to action and justice from the TRC and MMIWG reports. She says this would reduce racism in police forces. Here are a few comments from last night's debate.
There have been report after report. There's been recommendations after recommendations. Despite all this great work to see law reform, to see enforcement reform, we're still not seeing an accountable system that ensures that Indigenous peoples are protected, that Indigenous people live in safety, that Indigenous peoples get to live in comfort.
Are they going to call the police when they've been in a situation where they've been faced threat? Absolutely not. There's a term, and I don't know what the term is because I don't speak Oji Cree, but the woman told me what the name for police was, the ones who take your children. So they don't call the police because there is not that trust. And that's the shame of colonial Canada that still results in our 6 young people dying.
Let's not pretend that this is only a federal issue. The provincial governments have a part to play here, and we need them to be partners at the table. But the study should also look at what obstacles and systemic racism within the justice system are there, and what barriers exist that prevent Indigenous people from becoming law enforcement officers.
A week after Steven Iggy Dedam was shot by an RCMP officer, his nation held a walk to call for justice. It was joined by 16 other First Nation communities across the Atlantic region. Angel Moore reports from the Elsipogtog First Nation in New Brunswick.
Stop killing us.
That is Tegan Copage's message to RCMP. He is a band councillor at the Elsipogtog First Nation. Steven Iggy Dedam was shot by an RCMP officer during a wellness check on September 8th in his home in Elsipogtog. The 34-year-old later died in hospital. The community is outraged over his death, and Dedam is the 6th person across Canada to die by police in 2 weeks.
Absolutely disgusted with the RCMP, because it's just this continued, this just continues on, you know, us dying in the hands of them.
About 100 people walked in Dedam's community, calling for justice. Princess Claire helped organize the walk.
He deserves justice, and so does all the other people just within this week. And not to mention Chantel Moore or Rodney Levi. Like, these people, they deserve justice.
16 First Nations in the Atlantic region held their own walks in support, including Wegmacuk, Eskazoni, Nagudkuk, Wegogama, and Jabuktuk. The Dedam family is grateful.
It brought a lot of people together. I know a lot has happened in regards to First Nation people, and I feel like the more that we get together and unite like this, the more stronger we become.
Dedam was a father, brother to 5 sisters and 3 brothers. Family members said Dedam would help anyone.
He was an awesome dad, brother, uncle, friend, everything. He was always happy and jolly, and he loved to do stuff with anybody. Like,
I looked up to him. He was an awesome fisherman. He was probably the funniest person I know. And we're gonna miss him for sure.
So he was just outgoing. He was just like full of life. He loved everybody. Like, this is sad. I don't understand. I will never understand how this could happen.
People ended the walk at the RCMP detachment in Elsipogtog for ceremony and song. The detachment was closed for the weekend, but is still operating despite high tensions. Copage and community members painted the walls of the detachment with red handprints and signs. He said the message is clear.
That the RCMP need to go, and I couldn't agree more.
Back in 2020, Indigenous communities were outraged when Chantel Moore and Rodney Levi lost their lives at the hands of police in separate incidences. The Moore and Levi family members attended the event. Glowawedge Denny is Levi's niece.
It's ridiculous. It shouldn't have happened again. We had an inquest purposely so this wouldn't happen again.
Martha Martin, Moore's mother, is a tireless advocate.
You know, we've had enough at this point, you know, no more recommendations. You know, what do they do with them? They need to start implementing these recommendations.
Copage is grateful for the support and says First Nations need their own policing.
You know, I really wanted the RCMP gone out of here before this would happen in our own community. And unfortunately, it has, but you know, we just got to continue to fight and get justice for our brothers and sisters and prove our point to them and get them out of our communities.
Angel Moore, APTN National News, Elsipogtog First Nation.
Back to Ottawa now in developing news as NDP leader Jagmeet Singh had a verbal altercation with somebody on Parliament Hill. The NDP leader had just finished an event and was walking outside when someone called him a name.
Would you vote a non-confidence tonight if it came up? Want to say something? What? Want to say something? I didn't say nothing. Who said that? You got something to say?
I didn't say but I said,
you said?
No, I did not say that.
Who said it?
Somebody behind me said that.
Was it me? Was it you?
No.
You sure? If it was me, I'd admit it, buddy. Was it you or not? If it was me, I'd admit it. What'd you say then? I didn't say nothing. It wasn't me. It was the gentleman behind me, I guess. Who is it then? Point it out. I have no idea who it was, buddy. My word. You sure it's not you? No. 100%. You're a coward. You're not going to say it to my face. That's what's up. Say what? If I said something like that to you, I'd admit it. All right.
Singh's office just released a statement alleging a large group on the Hill has been intimidating people. And Jagmeet Singh does not tolerate bullies and does not condone violence. Time to step aside for a quick break, and then a mother and daughter's fight for status continues to play out in the courts, even though they have now both sadly passed away. We'll hear from family members vowing to continue the fight coming up. Welcome back. A mother and daughter from the Sandy Bay First Nation in Manitoba fought for status all the way to the Ontario Superior Court and won. But sadly, both women died before the decision was made. Annette Francis met with the family members at their home in Windsor, Ontario.
See, my dad said keep fighting.
The families of Bertha Isbister, who passed away 9 years ago, and Sharon Bikini share old stories and sort through old photos of days gone by.
Reserve there in Saskatchewan. There in 1889, 1890, 1891, and 93. 4 kids died.
Yeah, 4, and then they started the family over again. And
They're mourning the recent loss of their mother, grandmother, aunt, and wife, Sharon Bikini, who passed away this summer. She was diagnosed with terminal cancer and died while on a Zoom call for a court hearing regarding her right to Indian status.
And it was July 4th, and my mom passed away that day. The funeral home, they came in, and I said, yeah, you guys can come back in a half hour, an hour later. You know, we're in court, and this was important to my mom.
The story of how Steve Bikini's mother and grandmother had to fight to regain status begins over 100 years ago. That's when Bertha Isbister's father, St. Pierre Cook, accepted Métis script. That immediately invalidated any treaty rights he may have had. But according to lawyer Lucas Lung, there is evidence he was underage at the time and could not legally accept script.
So when we got our hands on the receipt that was issued when the script certificate was redeemed for money, that receipt had William Sifton's signature at the bottom of it. So we had documentary evidence that the actual money was received by somebody who was known to have been a fraudster. So that was helpful in our case. But this was something that was significant in the Sandy Bay Band. It was so significant, it was raised by, believe it or not, John A. Macdonald in Parliament.
3 weeks after Bikini's death, a decision in the case was made.
We won our case. And all my cousins and we're all happy, proud, being recognized for who we are.
Bikini's battle to regain her status started in 1998 when her son Steve applied for it for his grandmother Bertha and his mother Sharon. They were both turned down a number of times, but he kept appealing. Then in 2007, they both gained status as Treaty Indians from Sandy Bay First Nation in Manitoba.
And I was proud of that, so to help them. And then in 2009, INAC sent me another letter saying that they're appealing it and that they're removing them from the register.
According to Lung, the registrar ignored the applicable law.
So if you go back to the early 2000s when they initially said no, and this is the point that we made, like all that this family had to do was put the word protest at the top of their letters to say, hey, you got this wrong. And the decision that was made in 2007 would have been a final decision that the registrar wouldn't have had jurisdiction to revisit in 2009. So it's a very strange statutory scheme.
But the fight isn't over. The Attorney General of Canada appealed the decision, and now surviving family members vow to continue the fight. Alice Harrington says her mother would want that.
That was kind of like everything for her. That validated what she knew, and that she was going to get it, and that she knew that she was Native, and that they shouldn't have did that to her, and she was really happy.
APTN contacted Indigenous Services Canada for comment, but did not receive a response by airtime. Annette Francis, APTN National News, Windsor, Ontario.
Thanks, Annette. What a story. Well, the Canadian Medical Association says they will be apologizing for the role they played in the harms caused to Indigenous peoples in the healthcare system. CMA hopes the apology will address the damage it caused to Indigenous peoples through such practices as systemic racism in the healthcare system, birth alerts, forced sterilization, and forced medical experimentation. Advocates say it's because of these historic and ongoing issues that many Indigenous people don't trust Western medicine and choose not to see a doctor. Dr. Alika Lafontaine, the first Indigenous president of the CMA, helped put the apology together. A ceremony will be held on Wednesday in Victoria, BC at 1 p.m. Pacific time in the traditional territory of the Songhees and Kosapsum nations. Richard Jock is a member of the Mohawk Nation in Akwesasne and is Chief Operating Officer for the BC First Nations Health Authority.
People's experiences with the healthcare system are not good and are resulting in people not using the healthcare system. So in a sense, this is a determinant of health or a determinant of ill health. And this apology really is an important way to start reversing that and to really holding up a leadership towards addressing this in a good way.
The Yukon government says people living in the territory can expect better telecommunication services in the coming months, now that construction of a 788 kilometers of new fiber line is finished. The Dempster fiber line runs along the Dempster Highway between Dawson, Yukon, and Inuvik, Northwest Territories. The line will connect the existing Mackenzie Valley fiber link in Inuvik to Northwestel's fiber network in Dawson. Once operational, the line will close Canada's North Fiber Loop. However, the loop will act as a backup, ensuring internet and cellular service remain operational in the event of a disruption. The territorial and federal governments in Northwestel contributed around $8 million in funding for the new line. It's expected to be operational by December 2024.
Spanning 778 kilometers from Dawson to Inuvik, the fiber line represents years of hard work, innovation, and collaboration. It is a critical piece of infrastructure that will strengthen communication networks and support the long-term growth of the region.
This year's celebration of television had a noticeable increase of Indigenous representation. More on that coming up after the break. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. This of a little busy bee. Today's picture comes from Gina in Sioux Valley, Dakota Nation, Manitoba. Captured this close-up shot of a bumblebee collecting nectar on a hollyhock flower. Thanks for sharing, Gina. Great shot. Whether it's photos from your summer vacation or just a beautiful scene in your community, you can email your pictures to share@aptn.ca to be featured here on APTN National News. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, sunny and 29 in Halifax, 30 in Fredericton, 13 in Kuujjuaq, cloudy and 12 in Nain, 28 in Montreal, a sunny high of 26 for Val-d'Or. Sun's out in 27 in Sault Ste. Marie and North Bay. 26 in Thunder Bay, showers in 26 in Sioux Lookout. Sunny and 28 in God's Lake, 27 with showers in Norway House. Rain and 25 in Winnipeg, showers and 23 in Dauphin. 23 with rain in Regina, showers and 20 in Saskatoon. 19 with rain in Meadow Lake, sun's out and 21 in Stony Rapids. In northern Alberta, 17 with showers in Fort Chipewyan, 23 in Fort McMurray. Sunny and 22 in Edmonton, showers and 22 for Lethbridge. 18 with rain in Vancouver and Victoria, 24 in Kamloops. 18 in Prince George, 17 in Smithers. 10 in Old Crow, rain and 12 in Whitehorse. 14 with showers in Yellowknife, 15 in Wrigley. 4 in Sax Harbor, 11 in Paulatuck. cloudy and 9 in Chesterfield, 7 and cloudy in Arviat. 2 with snow in Resolute and Igloolik. The Nokoa Family and Youth Centre in Fort Macleod, Alberta, received a large donation from the Toronto Dominion Bank on Monday. Since 2020, the centre has housed Indigenous young people who previously lived in group homes or non-Indigenous foster homes. Nokoa is a non-profit facility. They offer family reunification, cultural supports, and independent living programs. TD donated $150,000 over 2 years to help support the centre. The money will be used to increase their programming and ensure financial stability, says their CEO.
With this funding, it helps us to enhance our land-based programming. It also helps us to enhance our cultural programming. It also helps us to increase training for us to achieve accreditation standards. So this funding is extra that helps to build our capacity so that we can be more sustainable.
Well, despite losing in every category, it was still a historic night for Indigenous representation at this year's 76th Annual Emmy Awards. The award-winning series Reservation Dogs was nominated for 5 categories. That included Outstanding Comedy Series and Outstanding Lead Actor. That actor was DeFaro Wunatai for his portrayal of Bear Smallhill. Wunatai walked the red carpet with a red handprint on his mouth to bring more awareness to missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Killers of the Flower Moon breakout star Lily Gladstone and Callie Reese also made history as the first Indigenous women not to be nominated for Best Supporting Actress in a limited series. Both Gladstone and Reese were recognized for their work in Under the Bridge and True Detective Night Country, respectively. Marvel's first Indigenous superhero show, Echo, was also nominated for Outstanding Fantasy Sci-Fi Costumes. Some great shows there. Still think Reservation Dogs was robbed every single year of its run. Sure do miss that show already. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. But for news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca, and stick around for an encore presentation of Face to Face. Our guest tonight is Dr. Rebecca Neckaway. Great timing ahead of the Canadian Medical Association's apology tomorrow. I'm Dennis Ward, Marcy McGuitch. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.